reality in martial arts. It's getting hit, hitting, getting grabbed, grabbing, getting people's stop grabbing, getting them off you somehow. It's being taken down and taking people down. It's almost everything. It kind of works out this way. People don't really submit in street or real world confrontations. They don't tap out. They're not going to know how to tap out, right? Even if they here's a scenario: somebody gets drunk in public, you're out shopping at the supermarket, someone's drunk or on drugs or something, and they start a scene, and you have to subdue them, right? If you take them down, you kind of have to stay there till someone else gets there, because if you let them up, they're going to continue, they're going to resume, right? They're not sane. This almost happened today, all right? I was I got out of the gym. There's a place called Eat Well, which is like a Whole Foods place, but they also have a liquor store, and they also have a section of sort of convenience goods and convenience food for students. You know, we have like 3 college campuses here, and there's also a deli department, there's a bakery department, there's a butcher shop. It's very comprehensive. So I got up in the morning, I went for a little jog, and I felt pretty good, and took a rest, took breakfast, and then later I went to the gym, did my workout, again felt pretty good, all push muscles. And then I went over to Eat Well, and the people know me. I'm like, hey guys, how you doing today? And one girl behind the counter, I'm like, I'm going to go, I bought lunch. I'm like, I'm going to go eat my sandwich and my salad and then hang out on my computer, because they have a little cafe with internet. And I said, I'm going to go shopping after that. All right, so I'll see you again. It's kind of a running joke. Oh, then when I go back, I'll be like, wow, it's been so long since I've seen you. You haven't changed a bit. And almost everybody that I do that to kind of chuckles. So I'm fairly relaxed there. It's fairly nice place. So I finished doing what I'm doing. I pack my stuff up in my backpack. I grab a shopping cart, and it's kind of like dragging a little bit. Something's wrong with the wheel, and I spot a disturbed-looking person. It's a kind of a gaunt-looking older white guy whose hair is very much thinning out, and he has a very disturbed look on his face. And he starts staring at me, kind of like this. And he had like really stringy, long, kind of brownish hair. And as I'm pushing my cart to sort of navigate my way, he sort of speeds up and gets to me. And pauses and looking at me like, and I'm like, go. And he's like, and he goes and he gets in front of me, and then like inexplicably he stops his cart and he sticks his butt out like I got the impression he was farting at me, right, or showing some kind of contempt. And then I was like, I'm not going to have any of this. I'm going to move off. But as I'm going around doing my shopping, I'm keeping an eye on this guy, because he looks a bit crazy, right? And eventually nothing happened. So a little vigilance, not hyper vigilance, that was good. But say he went nuts, say he assaulted someone. That's happened at that same grocery store before, right? Even before it changed owners. Once a crazy homeless guy came in there and tried to ice pick grip one of the female managers in her chest with a screwdriver, right? And his grip was shitty, so apparently, it didn't do a lot of damage. And then, another employee grabbed him and threw him down and held him, right? Let's say you get tangled up like that, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to choke out everybody, including a thin, frail-looking, probably mentally disturbed, deranged person? He didn't show any ability to talk, and, behaved extremely inappropriately, conflict-seeking behavior, but with zero communication and context, right? What are you going to do? Choke that person out? I mean, there's always a danger that someone's going to thrash around and damage themselves. You don't know if someone has really thick atherosclerosis, and, you know, I've heard of people dying from chokeholds where plaque broke off and gave them a heart attack or a stroke, right? It's possible in struggling so much you could crush their windpipe. So, yeah, you could choke someone unconscious, but it's probably inadvisable, right? And what if you're on top, or you're in an awkward position, and you know you're not in position to do the choke safely? You might wind up across their windpipe, right? And there's the possibility of getting them in an arm bar, like a juji gatame, the very popular one where the arm goes through the legs. I mean, you don't have good visual tracking of that guy, and he's not gonna know how to tap. If he taps on the street, don't let him go, because that means he's a martial artist, and the minute you let up, he may come right back at you, and now he knows you know something, right? So if you grapple someone down, you have to be prepared to hold them down, pin them down, control their arms whilst communicating. What would you do? This is where I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu shines, and where Judo shines. The reason why I'm not immediately leaping to freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling is that's kind of a young man's game, right? If you're a householder, husband to wife, a single man, and you're starting martial arts as an adult, the chances are you're not going to go to a high school or grade school and say, hey, can I work out with your wrestling team? They're going to look at you funny. Maybe they're like, who's this, child molester, right? So you're going to have to look at what's available, and it's often based on judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, maybe some Japanese jiu-jitsu, or a hybrid system, or an MMA gym. And most people are not joining MMA gyms if they're, above 30 or under 14, under 15, right? It's kind of like a certain demographic that's into that, right? You're not going to ground and pound the guy. You've got to be able to control his limbs. You've got to be probably a mount. I advise a technical mount. I think that's one of the best ones in a public location, because you can actually wrap that person's arms up, kind of like gift wrap them, and still be upright enough that you can see threats and you can detach at any point fairly quickly. Whereas if you're mounted, you're focused right on that person, and you could get kicked in the back of the head, stabbed, any number of things, right? And you're going to have to be able to talk, and you're going to have to be able to gain the cooperation of the crowd around you, right? And one final piece of advice for that is, they say in any emergency situation, you don't say, somebody call an ambulance. You find someone, and if you can point, if your hands are free, you point and you say, you call an ambulance. You call the police. I would actually give those two commands to two separate people. I would find one person and say, you call an ambulance, you call the police. Don't even say please. Make it very imperative, right? I did that once. I was a student at Rutgers University. I was coming back from my night class, and a girl got hit by a car that was speeding. And I was trained as an EMT, and I had military training as well. So I ran over immediately, and I tried to assess the situation, and she was freaking out, and she's like, I can't see. And basically what happened was she had a little cut above her eyebrow, and it was going in her eye, and she thought she was going blind. And I took my scarf and I wiped it off. I'm like, you're fine, can you see me? Yeah, all right, I need you to calm down. And I said, does anybody have a jacket they can spare? Nobody had a jacket they can spare. Nobody wanted to, and nobody was responding. And I unzipped my jacket, put her on top of her, and then I was like, all right, I remember my training. I looked at someone, I'm like, you call an ambulance, and they call an ambulance. And by the time the ambulance got there, she was cool. She was fine. She's like, I think I'm fine. I'm kind of embarrassed. I need to go. Mom, please stay. I said, please stay. I know you feel fine. We don't know if there's anything wrong with you. And we'll never know unless they examine you. And the ambulance came and got her. And, she was fine. But that key piece of information that I was taught and trained that I finally put into practice, I looked at someone and I said, you call an ambulance. And he zipped off immediately. There was no hesitation. Whereas when I was saying, does anybody have a jacket that they can spare? I mean, nobody felt the need to take responsibility, so I took off my jacket. I got my jacket back. It was fine, right? So those are going to be factors. If you have to grapple on the street, these are real life street self-defense grappling considerations. Thank you.